Awesome guys, welcome back to another video. This is a reaction to a Lost in the Pond video, and it is 6 ways British and American hotels are very different. I've already done this intro, but I wasn't recording, so yeah, that was a bit embarrassing. But yeah, we're going to get into the reaction. Hopefully you're going to enjoy. Let me know some more videos you want to see in future. And I mean, with this, I've said this in the previous intro that I'd done, but obviously I wasn't recording. Who does another hotel stay, right? I mean, they're expensive. So that's the downside, but it's just quite fun. You just have to, well, you don't have to, sorry, you can just forget about your responsibilities and just be treated like a king for a day or two or a week if you got money. But yeah, I don't even know what I'm saying now. Hopefully you're going to enjoy. Links are in the description to my Patreon and my other socials as well, like my Instagram, if you're interested in those. But let's just jump into this.
This is the word we use for what Americans might call a bellboy or a bellhop.
A bellboy?
Hello, I'm Lawrence, and I'm on a quest to uncover all of the memos that Britain and America...
A bellboy sounds like a sort of a butler that you have running around for you, but that sounds kind of medieval time-ish. What?
The pond, and one of those memos pertains to hotels, or as they're known in Britain, hotels. I mean, it's the same. And of course, as a certified YouTube sensation, I've done my fair bit of world travel, right? Just off the top of my head, I've been to Britain, America, you know, and I think from that, I've stayed in quite a few hotels, so I know what I'm talking about.
I thought it was going to name like 10 countries at least. It just says 2.
2 countries, whether you're just looking for a quick getaway or something discreet. It is worth learning that hotels in Britain aren't necessarily the same as their American counterparts. And so without further ado, let's metaphorically ding one of those bells at reception as I uncover ways that British and American hotels are very different. You know, when I was out there for the first time on the American open road, living the hotel lifestyle on my honeymoon, the first confusing thing that I noticed is that elevators in America...
If this is a hotel, flipping hell, there's a lot of elevators here. There's about a good, what, there's 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 just in scene or whatever. Or in shot. Or is it just 7? I think it's 8, and then there's probably more.
Hotels, and as it turns out, everywhere else insist upon taking you to different floors to what they would in Britain. Lawrence, what do you mean by that? Well, here's how elevators / lifts, we'll get onto terminology later, work in Britain. The floor where I enter the hotel and speak to reception and ask them if they have any free dental floss is known in Britain as the ground floor. When you enter the elevator, you press G to stay on the ground floor. Nobody would ever do that. Or number 1 to go up to the floor above. Or number 2.
But number 1's the ground floor in the US.
Get my drift. But in America, I don't know why my hand is still up there, in America, it's a little bit different. Because that same floor where I enter the hotel and talk to reception and ask them for some free dental floss, and they actually know what dental floss is the first floor. And this is usually denoted in the elevator by the number 1. So the floor immediately above that is 2, and then 3, and then 4, and then 5, and then I'm a little bit hazy after that. And then you get to your room, and this is where those pan-Atlantic differences really take shape. Or, should I say, size, because there's one key rule. On the whole, British hotel rooms tend to be smaller than their American counterparts. And the reason for this, as we all know, is that America marginally out-freedoms Britain. But it's also because Britain is about a 40th the size of the United States. And so we just sort of cram things in. In fact, awkwardly...
And I wouldn't be surprised if the rooms are actually more expensive in the UK as well.
A tiny British hotel room was where I first met my in-laws. And they were staying in a room about the size of this studio, which surprisingly, given that I am often dubbed America's finest British import, is not that big. And at the best of time, I don't like being in close proximity to humans. So being squashed in a room with my future in-laws was the second most horrifying experience of my life. And I know what you're thinking. Ooh, Lawrence, what was the first? Being squashed in the elevator with them on the way up. But the next time we met in an American hotel, we sure did have a chuckle. At least I think we did. I couldn't hear them because they were on the other side of the room. You see, American hotel rooms, like cars or portion sizes or America itself, are just bigger. I mean, they'd have to be, right? Especially given what we've discovered on this channel about the differences in bed sizes. And of course, a bed is not the only place in a hotel room where you lie down. In addition to the bed, the sofa, and in desperate times the closet, which should prompt nobody to ask me about the coat hanger incident of 1998, there is also the bathtub. I know what you're thinking.
Fair
yes,
enough.
Lawrence, the British bathtub has separate taps for hot and cold. Well, firstly, that's not always true, and secondly, that's not where I was going with this. I was actually going to mention the floor height, because while in America the bathroom floor and the bottom of the bathtub are more or less level,
it's built into the
other,
ground.
this is often not the case in Britain. To go
in
from
the
the
UK
floor to the bathtub, you often have to kind of step up because the bottom of the bathtub is higher up than the floor. There's one thing to remember that's getting in, but getting out when your feet are wet and soapy, it could lead to an
Oh no, so wait, the ones in the US are built into the ground. And in the UK they're like built up.
Bottom of the bathtub are more or less level with each other. This is often not the case in Britain. To go from the floor to the bathtub, you often have to kind of step up because the bottom of the bathtub is higher up than the floor. There's one thing to remember that's getting in, but getting out when your feet are wet and soapy, it could lead to an unintentionally hilarious TikTok video. In fact, I do have footage, but I can't show it on here because I'd get hundreds of complaints and an equal number of marriage proposals. So just take my word for it. Electric plugs are, of course, found in many places and through much of our daily lives. But never more do I need them than when I'm in a hotel. So because of this, it is worth remembering some of the key differences between British and American plug sockets. But don't take my word for it. Instead, listen to me from last year. It was once said by me in just a second from now that you can tell a lot about a country by the size of its plugs. And given its unparalleled record...
has he done this because it's like... Wait, this might be coming across as stupid as hell, but has he made his hair like this because like he's talking about plug sockets and like static shots and stuff? That might be the stupidest guess, but maybe I'm right.
Of boasting larger stuff than everyone else, America might fancy its chances of winning the my plug's bigger than your plug debate. But the truth is, and you might find this shocking, British plugs are larger. You can't talk about AC plugs without talking about prongs. Prongs are the protruding sticks of metal that keep the plug adjoined to the wall like a docked plane. And the only reason I made an aviation simile there was to draw your attention to the miniature control tower I made from British and American adapters while I was bored. Anyway, there are several key differences in this department.
Would that make more power?
It wouldn't, would it? Ever so slightly longer and crucially
That's probably a really
thicker.
stupid question.
This makes them sturdier and impossible
Really
to
stupid.
bend. How do I know that? Because I was 14 once. But whereas British plugs, that is, Type G plugs, are decidedly triple-pronged, that's not always the case in America. Sure, Type B plugs, the ones whose sockets look like surprised ghosts, definitely do have 3 prongs, but Type A plugs, which are easily the more outgoing and competitive of the two, are bipronged. Due to the manner in which each country feeds the wires into the plug, there's also a difference in how they hang from the wall socket. In Britain, the wire hangs vertically from the plug, thus making it harder to yank from the wall by pulling the cable. And the horizontal connection of American plugs means that you can do this in theory, but it's not recommended. One of the biggest concerns for Americans visiting Britain, aside from being forced to eat mushy peas, is the Great British American voltage divide. In Britain, residential voltage is categorized as 230 volts, while it's generally 120 in the US. Moreover, British mains electricity operates on a 50 Hz frequency and America on 60. What does all of this mean? Well, let's just say that you want to use your American laptop in Britain, but it doesn't run on 230 volts, is not dual voltage, or is incompatible with 50 Hz. In that instance, you'll need to run to Toshi Station to pick up some power converters. A power converter will convert the voltage from 230 to the voltage of your laptop. In the event that your power converter doesn't come with a Type G plug adapter, be sure to also pick up one of these. This plug adapter is magic. It allows you to turn your Type A or B American plug into a Type G British plug. For Brits visiting America, the same applies, but in reverse. A step-down power converter or transformer might also be needed to safely use devices in the US. Both are widely available for Americans and Brits on Amazon. I'd say the most obvious difference between British and American hotels is the temperature. When I first stayed in an American hotel, I couldn't believe how cool it was.
See, I would love that.
Not in a Morgan Freeman type.
But, see, that's what I want though. I like cold. My girlfriend would hate it and she'd bust the heating up as much as possible when you're in our room, when we're in our room. But for me, the cooler the better, man. I don't like hot.
I mean, this was a double tree. I just mean it was air conditioned. But in Britain, you don't usually have that problem and or luxury.
You do have aircon in British hotels, though.
British hotel rooms are either not air conditioned or not air conditioned well. This is a particular problem when you're squished in one with your future in-laws. As with many areas of life, hotels are their own subgenre of British versus American word differences. Take, for instance, the name that we assign to that helpful hotel staff member who helps you with your luggage when you're checking in or out.
I don't even know what the name for
it is. In much of the rest of the world, this person is known as a hotel porter. This is the word we use for what Americans might call a bellboy or a bellhop. Also, whether it's situated on the ground or the first floor, Brits and Americans also can't agree what you call that area of the hotel that you enter upon entering. In Britain, we usually offer the word foyer. Please note that Americans, just like patrons on my most recent secret stream, are divided on whether this should be pronounced foyer or foyer. Either way, Americans will often call this area the lobby. More often than not, Brits will call an elevator a lift, and Americans will call a lift an elevator, while Americans have about 100 words for a sofa bed. Chief among these are hide-a-bed, bed couch, sleeper sofa, or pull-out sofa. And finally, valet parking. This is something I've encountered far more in the United States than I have in Britain. This is a parking service offered at hotels in which you pay a valet.
But that's when you've got money in it. That's like when you've got money in your bank. Like you probably got a nice car, you want someone to park it for you. That's like when you know you're living good. Maybe I'm wrong, but I'm sure that's a wealthy thing to do, but I might be talking out my arse.
Valet might be confusing to some Brits, who might think of a valet, often pronounced valet, as a male servant, a fine example of which is the character of Jeeves from P.G. Woodhouse's Jeeves and Wooster novels that I somehow keep mentioning in my videos just by coincidence. That's it for this video. Let me know in the comments below some of the...
Wait, so with the car thing, I wonder if it is a thing that is just for wealthier people, if it is just a common thing in the US. But yeah, hopefully you enjoyed this reaction. As always, I enjoyed these videos because they're just fun to react to. And I mean, yeah, I'm feeling a bit better. My nose is really scabbed up. If you watched any of my videos yesterday, you'd probably have noticed. I was pretty sick, feeling better, but my nose is so scabbed up. And yesterday I accidentally sometimes you just put your finger in your nose, you know? Not even necessarily to do anything, you just put it, I don't know. And I touched the scab and it fell off and I bled like crazy. So I'm just trying not to accidentally itch my nose or anything. But yeah, so hopefully I don't, because if I do and I do it on video, there's going to be a lot of blood. But I don't know why I'm saying this at the end of the video. Hopefully you did enjoy, and yeah, see you next time. Like, subscribe. Peace.